Hey guys, so today we're going to do a video for fighting game basics, and we're going to be using Street Fighter V for our demonstration platform. Just to kind of let you guys know, if you already know how to play fighting games, then this video is probably not for you. This video is actually targeted at very, very beginners who have never picked up a controller before and maybe are a little intimidated by playing fighting games because they know this is a huge learning curve and, the culture of fighting games, people can be a little mean sometimes. So what we're going to do here today is kind of go over basics of fighting games. And this is going to be something that you can apply not just to Street Fighter, but to a lot of other games as well, because Street Fighter is so prevalent that if you pick up the basics here, you can kind of transfer them over to other games. And it's not going to work with every game. Control schemes are different for, say, Mortal Kombat or a Virtua Fighter or a Tekken, but a lot of the Japanese-based fighting games and like stuff from SNK, all the other Capcom games, you're going to be able to use most of what you see here. I did pick Street Fighter V A because it is the newest and shiniest version, and because the inputs are actually really easy. So if you're a beginning player and you want to pick up a game, this is actually probably the one to do it. I will say that the game is unbalanced. So later on, if you get into advanced play, you'll probably notice that the game is lacking in defense. It's very big on being offensive, but it really doesn't have a lot of balance to it. So there are balance issues. On the other hand, the game is fun. So, if you're not looking to be a top tier player and you just want to have fun with the game, I say just go for it. All right, so first we're going to go over what kind of characters you can pick. There are three basic archetypes in Street Fighter, and there are mix and matches across the board and in other games. All right, so the first type of character you're going to have is basically your fireball characters. Ken, Ryu, basically all of their moves, Kami too, are a combination of quarter circles and fireballs. And I'll actually just show you the moveset real quick. We do have to wait for it to load. But once you see how the moves are laid out, and I'm, again, assuming you've never played a game like this before, so I'm really showing you everything from the ground up. Alright, so down here you have your command list, alright? So as you take a look over here on the left, Hadouken is down to forward with punch, alright? Shoryuken is forward, down, forward punch, and the Hurricane Kick is down to back with kick. Alright, so the reason this is one type of class is that these moves can be done kind of on the fly. I think this is a good class for a beginner, although there are other classes where the moves are easier to do, such as a charge character. We'll talk about those in a second. What happens is you need to pretty quickly learn to put your moves into combos, because if you just spam a move, eventually either the other player or the computer is going to figure out to block it. What you really want to do is learn right at the beginning to put things into combos. And these are actually easier to put into combos. And we'll get into that in a second. All right, so second type of character is the charge character. There's a few of those: Chun-Li, Nash, Bison, actually, charge character, and a bunch that I haven't unlocked. I literally have only been playing this game for about 2 days, but I have been playing fighting games for over 20 years, so I kind of have some experience. All right, do Chun-Li, and whoever comes up. All right, so charge characters I think are, wow, that is weird. Charge characters I think are the intermediate, because even though charge moves are easier to do, they're harder to work into combos because you have to kind of think ahead of time. So her moveset, alright, and she does have one move where you can actually do down to forward and kick, is charge back and then tap forward for punch, or charge down and tap up with kick. Alright? So she can throw a fireball, and of course I'm going to screw up. Like that. Okay, and it's just down and then up in the button. You have to hit it at just the right time. But if you want to work that into a combo and you're being aggressive, what you have to do is jump forward and hold down back. And then time it just right so that your move is fully charged when you're ready to do your attack. So it's a bit more intermediate, even though the moves are simpler. So I recommend, like, if you try other characters first and you like this style, it is actually useful and you can do it offensively, but in the beginning, you're always going to be kind of on the defense. All right, now the final type. Final type are throw characters. All right, and throw characters tend to be bigger and slower, but the trade-off, this is actually a really good trade-off, is that throws are unblockable. So, Zangief. Haven't used him yet, so this is going to be new. Right? And a lot of people are turned off by using throw characters, but I actually have a friend who only uses throw characters and completely wipes the floor with people just using throws. So I think these are like advanced characters, and I think that they're usable, but you're going to have to put a lot of work into it. And I think, and I haven't seen his moveset this time. Does he still have the 360 input? He still has the 360 input. So here's the thing. His very first move is do a complete 360-degree motion with the controller and then hit punch. To do that, and the easiest way to do that, is actually just do it while you're standing next to somebody. Yeah. And this version of Street Fighter, again, is very forgiving, because I usually can't do that. So if you want to learn throw characters, this is probably the game for you to pick them up. Okay, so that's the beginning. Now, my advice to you, since you're just starting out, is try a lot of different characters. Try a lot of different styles. You know, and once you master one, don't be afraid to try another character. You know, you may start with one character. Like I started playing with Guile, and then I eventually started playing with Ryu because I wasn't good at using the charge forwards. Like doing the charge motions while I was jumping in. It takes a lot more practice. Okay. So now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of stuff. Now that you've figured out what character you want to play as, or you're playing around with a couple of different types. First thing I always hear from new players is, I lose because I don't know the special moves. Before you start learning special moves, learn your basic moves. Just your jabs, and your mediums, and your attacks. Because here's the thing, 90% of the time, your moves are going to be regular moves, right? We don't just throw fireballs all the time. All of these other moves are going to come into concert. And it's really important to kind of gauge where your moves are, all right? Where you should be when you hit the button. So, for example, I'm doing a jumping medium kick here. You can do medium kick much earlier than when you do the roundhouse kick. Roundhouse kick comes out faster, and depending on where that kick lands, it determines whether or not you're going to get a combo. All right? And it is, again, lenient with those combo inputs. And I do have it set so it's not trying to block, but... All right? So the thing is, check your basic moves, and they're also useful. So, for example, with Ryu, crouching fierce is an anti-air move. So if you don't know how to do a Shoryuken to block someone coming in to jump in, wow, that guy's talkative. Maybe I'll switch him out. If you don't know how to do the Shoryuken, crouching fierce, it doesn't have the range, and it doesn't have the priority, and we'll talk about priority later, but it will stop somebody trying to jump in too much. And you'll also learn that different moves work at different times. So sometimes you'll want to use the crouching fierce instead of using the Shoryuken. Okay. That being said, on to special moves. You are going to have to learn them, all right? Here is the bad news. There is no special secret way to learn special moves. You literally have to sit down and practice them. And you have to practice them until you can do them whenever you need them, all right? The good news is that nowadays, you guys actually have training rooms where you can do training to learn your special moves. Back when I was a kid, we didn't have that. We had the Sega Genesis, and you basically just put a two-player game on and left the second controller empty. And every time you beat him, you had to reselect your characters. I am going to pick somebody else. He's really talkative. I think he's the new boss or sub-boss in Akali. I fought him in survival mode, and he was the last one on the first one I tried. And then Bison was the boss on the second one I tried. So... Maybe Cam. I don't think she talks as much. Alright, so yeah, special moves. Alright. The good news is that if you learn your special moves in this game, if you learn how to throw a fireball, if you learn how to do a dragon punch, if you play other games, if you play SNK games, they use basically the same type of moveset. So you're always going to be able to do that. You're always going to be able to do your hurricane kicks and your uppercut. And I put the inputs on the left-hand side of the screen, so you can kind of see what I'm doing as I'm doing. Okay, so next we're going to talk about combos. What we're going to do is we're going to have the dummy is going to guard after the first attack. So, here's the deal. If I do... Oops, sorry. That is not a combo, because there is an opening between when the first attack hits and the second attack. What we need to do is we need to make sure that those two attacks connect. So you need to do it fast enough. See, at that point, she didn't get that, right? Combos are essential, because what you want to do is, after the first attack lands, and if you can get an attack on one of your enemies, your opponents, all of the subsequent attacks are going to basically add damage that they can't stop, right? So, the first combo everybody learns is jump... Oh, I screwed it up, of course. Jump, kick, sweep. It's actually harder to do the roundhouse kicks in this one. I find medium is actually better. Alright? I'm going to teach you a very basic combo, and it's actually going to teach you one of the techniques that you're going to use. It's a more intermediate technique. It's called a 2-in-1. Right? So we know that for Ryu, the fireball motion is down to forward and punch. Right? What we can do is, since we're already crouching when we're doing our medium kick, we can do a medium kick and then push the controller forward to the down to forward position and put the punch in immediately afterward, and that will add the fireball to the combo. And of course I screwed up. You have to do it fast. The other thing I forgot to mention with this game is it's very loose in allowing you to do your supers, so I'm going to turn off my supers right now. Player normal. Okay. That way I don't accidentally do a super when I'm trying to demonstrate something else. Okay, so that's a combo. Not the one I wanted. There we go. Alright, so how this is going to help you. Alright. Combos are very basic, and this is a very basic combo I'm going to teach you. It's jumping medium, ducking medium, and then fireball. Alright, this is basically Ryu's bread and butter combo. If you can get this, you've basically got one combo under your belt. You're going to want to learn more combos, because if you keep doing the same combo over and over again, even the computer is going to figure out where you're coming from. There are other combos in the game. I'm actually going to show you, he's got one that they added I haven't seen before. A unique attack. Where was it? Huh, I don't know if it's there. Alright, so even just fierce punch, fierce kick, or fierce punch, roundhouse kick, sorry. That is actually a combo. So you could jump in and do that as a combo. Alright, so now we're going to talk about attack vectors and range. So things are going to get a little more complicated. Alright, so first, there are 4 basic areas attacks are going to come from in Street Fighter. From above, when you do a jump kick, right, where somebody jumps in on you. Straight ahead, right, when someone jabs in, or when you dash in. Like that. And from below. Okay, so there are also 2 different types of blocks. Oh, I forgot I could reset the stage. Okay, so when people come from above, you want to hold back to block, all right? And if you're not moving backward and somebody's actually attacking you, and it'll look like that. If you hold down back, it'll block low. All right? Here's the thing. Attacks from the front or low can be blocked with down below, right, if you're doing a low block. However, if you're crouching and blocking, attacks from the air will come in. If you're standing and blocking, you can block attacks from above and from the front, but not below. So initially, you're basically playing paper, rock, scissors to see where the attack is going to come from. The fourth way is from range. Okay? I treat range a little bit differently because even though it's coming from the front, it provokes a different response. So if I throw a fireball, my opponent has several different options. They can jump straight up over the fireball, right? They can use a special move to counter it. And in this game, actually just hitting both of the medium buttons at the same time will give you usually a special move that gets around projectiles or does something. It's actually different for every character. They can block it and take a tiny bit of damage, or, and this is what's going to happen 90% of the time, and this is why I mention it, they're going to jump over the fireball and initiate an attack on you. Now, this is where you want to get a little bit defensive. When you throw a fireball, you're basically provoking the enemy, and you want them to attack you. So what you want to be able to do is, and unfortunately the other player is not a person, it's just a dummy at this point, you want to be ready to counter with an anti-air move. And most commonly, you're going to want to use the Shoryuken. All right? So if you've practiced your Shoryuken and you can do it every time, another bit of advice I'm going to give you is use the Light Punch Shoryuken. Because if you use the Fierce Punch Shoryuken, there's a lot of time while you're in the air where if you miss for any reason, your opponent can punish you upon landing. You're basically open for a few seconds before your feet land and before you return to home position. However, the window is much smaller with short and medium Shoryuken. Right? With Ken, you may want to use Fierce Sword Shoryukens more, but you're probably going to do them in concert with combos because his have multiple hits. And Street Fighter V is balanced for an offensive player, so Ken might actually be a better choice for a lot of people who really want to get up close and do a lot of damage quick. Alright, so on top of vectors, so we've got above, in front, lower attacks, and ranged, we also have to talk about the range of your attacks. So here, alright, we can do up close damage, or we're in what we like to call throw range. Now, if you hit both light punch and light kick at the same time, you will throw. Good news about throw is it's unblockable just out of throw range. You can actually kind of see his throw range by doing that, right? And he curses when he doesn't get it right. Bad news is, by the time you're here, you're probably already throwing out poke attacks, and your opponent is throwing out poke attacks, so it's really hard to get into throw range, all right? From here, you're about jump kick range. So you can jump in, and you're about the range where you want to be to initiate a mid to long range attack from jumping. Okay? And then, and this is a range you'll probably almost never be in, there's all the way across the screen. Now, you can't reach your opponent within one jump from that range. Alright? What you can do is throw fireballs at them to provoke them into coming after you, and try and chip away at their health. And what that'll do is it'll force them to close the range with you instead of you coming in to close the range, which you can do too. Another little piece of advice, every button does a different thing. So when I throw a fireball with Fierce, it's fast. When I throw a fireball with Weak Punch, it's much slower. So what you could do is maybe throw a couple of fireballs with Fierce, and then change it up and throw a short one. What that will do is sometimes your opponent will block the first couple of fireballs and then jump. If you're all the way across the screen and you throw a weak fireball, they will probably land on it instead of jumping over it. So you can kind of play mind games with that. So that's another little tip that you can use for, distance. 90% of the time, I think you're going to be in this range because a lot of people start their attacks with jump-ins, all right? But there's another little bit of an area here, right about here, where you can dash in, all right? It's right between where you have an optimal range for jumping, which is right about here, and here, which is where you can kind of dash in. So far, I found a couple of ideas for dashing in. Number one, dash in, throw. All right. A little bit of note here. When you dash in, you can't do the throw until you finish the dash motion. If you try to do it too soon, the throw doesn't come out. You actually have to finish dashing, and then you can throw. Okay. The other thing you can do is jabs seem to work really well because they're quick attacks when you're dashing in. So you can kind of jab, and I found you can jab Shoryuken pretty reliably. I was working with that last night. Basically, if you find a combo that you like, keep practicing. Practice it over and over and over again until you can do it in your sleep, because most of this is muscle memory, and your fingers are going to remember how to do it. 90% of fighting games is practice. Well, I use the phrase 90% a lot, don't I? I actually wrote everything I wanted to talk about down on a piece of paper before I started this, because it's a lot. All right, so now that we know basics of range, let's talk a little bit about footwork. Okay, so when you play the computer is going to walk like this. It's going to come at you very deliberately and attack you. When you play a person, it's going to look more like this. And I'm jumping too much. That's actually not what I wanted. Right? And what's happening here is that we're testing ranges. We're seeing if I can provoke an attack or counter an attack. And what's going to happen is you're going to start to see stuff like this, where we're trying to maybe start a combo or start chipping. You get foot games, right? So on top of having frontal attacks and having the threat of jump-ins, you're going to have people who are going to want to try and see if they can get in. And every character's medium seems to be the longest. And it, like I said, it varies every character. You're going to have to try it out. But with you, if you really want to, like, peg someone, the medium kick is going to be what you're going to go for like, a low attack. It's got decent range. I'm almost there from here. Okay? So when you're fighting a person, watch how they move. Watch their footwork. See where they're going. Are they coming in or are they going out? All right? Are they trying to get in from chip damage, or are they backing off so they can start an attack from above? And if you watch your opponent, and that's the most important thing with fighting games, is watch your opponent. See what they're going to do. See if you can predict what they're going to do. All right? And then when an opening presents itself and you can, you want to put in as much damage through a combo as possible. All right, let's talk about crossovers. Okay, so we know that when we're jumping from a certain area, we're going to be able to hit with an attack. But what you can do is a crossover is let's try speaking today. A crossover is a special type of jump where you jump over your opponent and attack, and I don't know if that actually counts. But you, yeah, there it goes. It says cross up. All right, so what this means is you're jumping from the front, but your opponent literally has to block from the other side because you're actually hitting them in the back by jumping over them. All right? And crossover range is right about here. All right? You kind of want to jump over their head. That was too far. Yeah. It's very tricky, and you might get it accidentally. And it helps because your opponent literally has to block the way opposite that they're facing. So it's a nice little trick to know. And getting used to crossover range, like I said, Street Fighter V is a pretty easy game to learn, and it's pretty forgiving. That being said, remember, all of your opponents are going to know that too. So they're going to be learning quickly on this game too. All right, how to use supers. Now I'm going to put that bar back up now. So when you first start playing, you're going to be tempted. Let's do super auto recover. All right. You're going to get your super meter, and you're going to be like, all right, I got to get my super, and I'm unfamiliar with how to do it, and I'm just going to get it to come out. Except, here's what's going to happen 90% of the time. Okay? So, what's happening here is your opponent is reading that you're throwing a fireball from all the way across the room, or even worse, they'll jump over it and attack you. And then you have to build your meter all the way up again. When you have a super meter, you're more of a threat to your opponent than when you don't. All right? What you want to do, we're going to put this first attack only, is put that super in a combo. Because remember, if the first hit of a combo hits and all of your combo hits, if the first hit of a combo hits, all of the hits afterwards are unblockable. So this way, what you want to do, and remember we did that bread and butter combo before. I said that wrong? Or after first attack, okay. Alright, so we got that one. What you can do is, after you throw that first Hadouken, you can combo it. I did that sloppily. Alright, you can put that motion in as one fireball, and then his super again, is basically just do the same thing twice. Do down to forward, and then down to forward again, and then use a punch button. It doesn't matter what punch button you use. It will actually throw out the super fireball at the same speed. And that's actually useful because if you're using something like this, as you block it, you can actually do that just using the jab button. Okay? So, that was what I wanted. Okay, so what that does is basically, if you learn that first combo where it's just jumping medium, ducking medium, fireball, right? If you can do another fireball motion after the first one, and Street Fighter V is super forgiving with this, you can put the super. So this way, when you're doing your super, you're not going to lose it. You're not going to just waste it. You're going to actually make sure that it goes out and it does damage. That being said, if you start your combo and the opponent starts blocking, don't do the second maneuver. Just end it with the fireball and then back off. And it's going to take a little bit of practice to know when you should put that second super in and when you shouldn't, and sometimes you're going to do it accidentally, and that's okay. But this is basically the way you want to approach using a super, because you don't want to waste it after you built it up after 2 matches. All right. Now let's talk about patterns and styles. All right, so as you've noticed, I've been using the jumping medium, ducking medium, fireball a lot. All right, so you're going to want to learn other combos. All right, you're going to want to change it up, because when your opponent sees you doing the same thing, eventually they're just going to start blocking because they know what you're going to do. You need to remain unpredictable. Okay, so what you could do in that case is maybe come in and do an upper combo where you're doing the fierce punch and the fierce roundhouse. There's a lot of combos out there, and there's actually a mode which teaches you combos. There's a challenge mode. All right, so just so you know, there's challenge mode for 1 and challenge mode for 2, Season 1 and Season 2. If you play the Season 1 challenges, the challenges are easier to do, but it has the Season 1 lag. One of the things I did not mention is that before the 2.0 patch, Street Fighter V has an 8-frame lag, which is, I think, 100 milliseconds. It's actually noticeable. There's between when you hit the button and when the move comes out, you can actually feel it. For version 2, they reduced it to 6 frames, so it does actually feel a little bit more responsive. But the combos from Season 1 are a little bit easier, so if you're just starting out, actually, I'll show you a couple. It's actually how I learned that fierce roundhouse. I haven't gotten too far into the game, so I haven't gotten very many combos done. And a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun actually going into doing the challenges and stuff like that. All right. All right. So they want jumping hard punch and Jodan Sanrengeki. All right. So how do we do Jodan Sanrengeki? I think it is. It is hard punch and then hard punch, hard kick. So that's actually the one I was doing before. Okay, so that. Okay, so right there we learned a combo. We learned that we could do jumping hard punch instead of medium kick. And again, hard punch and where medium punch comes out, where you have to hit the button before they attack, and where they land on your opponent too, because you kind of want to land it as low as possible, because then you're going to be landing on your feet sooner, and then you can do the next moves. This one, crouching medium kick Hadouken. We know that one. Okay. Jumping hard punch, standing medium punch, crouching medium kick Hadouken. Alright. I screwed up. I'm a little too far away. Alright. But you get the idea. There are basically combos here that you can learn, and if you practice them enough, and my one pet peeve with these challenges is that as soon as you do it right once, it moves you to the next one. And I don't think that's actually very fair. I think you should actually be able to play the same challenge over and over again until you feel comfortable with it. Just doing it once is not enough. Your fingers are not going to remember to do it when you're under pressure and you're actually fighting. Right? But they're useful because the more combos you know, the more unpredictable you're going to become. That being said, there is another thing I want to talk about with patterns and styles, and that is actually doing it on purpose. is kind of head games. So let's say for a second you're playing someone and you use your jumping medium kick, ducking medium kick, and fireball over and over and over again, and they know it's coming. And you do it 2, maybe 3 times on purpose. Hope she doesn't talk too much. Because you want to set up a situation where that's what they think is coming next. All right? Okay, here we go. So you've done it 2 or 3 times. All right? And then maybe what you do is you throw instead. Because they'll be ducking. Actually, let's make them duck. Because I want to make sure that they can actually... You can throw from ducking. All right? Yeah. So yeah, you can change it up. You can do throws. You can do a different combo. You can, basically make somebody think you're going to go left and go right. All right? So it is a thinking game. And you do want to kind of keep that in your back pocket. All right, so pretty much at the end of the list. And there is one last thing I want to say. And that is, it's okay to lose. I've been playing fighting games for over 20 years, and I lose way more than I win. And you know what? Doesn't matter. What you're ultimately going to do here is you want to have fun. And if you're losing to somebody, here's an important tip. Watch what they're doing. Because maybe you can steal their tricks. That's right. Losing is instructive. You can actually look at somebody and see how they're playing and then go back later and try it through practice and see if you can do that too. And that way you can add a new skill to your repertoire. I know that I'm never going to be like a top-ranked Street Fighter player, but as long as I'm having fun, then everything is fine. All right, so I didn't go over the very, very basics of the game, like stun meter and, charging and your V-trigger, because the game already has a tutorial for that, and I hope you'll actually play through the tutorial. I kind of wanted to give you guys some basic and intermediary tips for, like I said, brand new players. I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you actually go out there and play. You don't have to play online. Street Fighter V does not have a lot of single-player content, but you can always get a friend and a second controller, and frankly, I think that's actually some of the best ways to play, is actually with your friends. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.